Christie, this fat fuck, is going to be looking over his shoulder for quite a while, because there could be, I don't know if there is, obviously I'm not involved in it, but with those verdicts of guilty on his two underlings or chief advisors or chief position holders in the New Jersey administration, those two people found guilty and swore in court that he knew, that is going to give him a lot of sleepless nights, because sooner or later, once they clean out the New York Department of Justice and FBI investigators that are hardcore Breitbart peoples and supporters of Trump, they get all new people in there. This guy more than likely is going to get indicted. So Chris, you're probably going to become a lot slimmer and a lot more svelte, as they say, due to weight loss, because you know that they are coming. It's just a question of when.
Tonight, as a former federal prosecutor, I welcome the opportunity to hold Hillary Rodham Clinton accountable for her performance and her character.
They're screaming lock her up. They should be screaming lock him up.
Welcome back to Harvard. That was Governor Christie this past July, leading the case against Hillary Clinton during the Republican convention. Well, today a New Jersey jury found two of Christie's former aides, Bridget Kelly and Bill Baroni, guilty of creating a traffic jam near the George Washington Bridge in a scheme to punish the mayor of Fort Lee for not supporting Christie's re-election. Kelly and Baroni were found guilty of 9 felony counts of fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy.
Our view was quite clear that this was way more than a dirty trick. This was an assault on the Port Authority's resources. It was an assault on the civil rights of the people of Fort Lee. It was done knowingly, willfully, intentionally, and voluntarily by David Wildstein in concert with Bill Baroni and Bridget Kelly.
Both Kelly and Baroni testified in court that Christie was aware of the lane closings beforehand. Governor Christie has denied that. In a statement today, he said, quote, "No believable evidence was presented to contradict that fact. Anything said to the contrary over the past 6 weeks in court is simply untrue. I will set the record straight in the coming days regarding the lies that were told by the media and in the courtroom." Well, for more, I'm joined by MSNBC political correspondent Steve. You've been all over this, Steve Konecki. You are great on this. I'm just trying to figure this out. If you're a juror, and you voted to convict, and these are serious charges with serious sentences perhaps coming for Ms. Kelly and for Baroni, do you believe the governor was behind this?
This is the thing, and this is why the day before this happened, there was a ruling made by the judge about the instructions to the jury. And the judge basically said to a question that the jury asked, you did not have to believe that Bridget Kelly and Bill Baroni were aware that this was a payback scheme as they were carrying out. They didn't have to know all of the details of the nature of this. You just had to know that they understood what was going on. They understood this was not on the up and up what they were doing, and that they were doing it. The defense attorney, when the judge made that determination, said, you just found them guilty. Set the bar so low that the jury, because the strategy of the defense really had been, they hoped that in that juror's room, the jurors looked at this and they said, why isn't Christie the one on trial? Why are we getting the underling? Why are we getting...
Well, let me just ask you a logic question, which doesn't always work with juries, I guess. Why would they do this if it wasn't for the political purposes of their boss? Well, they're not getting 5 cents out of this. They're not getting any personal gain. Nothing out of this.
Yeah.
Bridget Kelly is a worker bee working, 100 feet from the governor's office, literally, right? Yeah. Across the room. She's doing this for the boss. The boss knows she's doing it for the boss, right? What's missing here? She's the agent.
This was why it was so tough.
Is she an agent or not?
This is why it was so tough for the defense, especially Bridget Kelly's defense in this case, because of what they couldn't say. They sort of had to wink at the jury. They couldn't say, yes, Bridget understood the essence of what was happening here. She knew there was some kind of payback scheme because she had all of these emails. Ultimately, that's what this came back to.
So the conundrum was she couldn't deny guilt and also assign guilt to the government.
What they were trying to say was, sure, she knew, but really it should be.
In other words, in denying guilt on herself, she couldn't apply the guilt to the government.
That's right.
What a conundrum.
So they were hoping the jury would kind of put that together.
I don't know if you know much about the law in this case, but they're going to appeal, obviously, the two people, they appeal, they always say they appeal. What about the governor? Is he vulnerable here to a subsequent indictment?
No, and I think because the determination was made a year and a half ago by the federal prosecutors that they were not going to go after Chris Christie on this. They were not going to indict Chris Christie on this. Now, I thought what was interesting was when this trial ended today, when the verdict was reached and the press got a crack at Paul Fishman, you just heard from him there, all the questions were, why didn't you go after Chris Christie? You had all of this testimony. Your star witness, David Wildstein.
Who's Paul Fishman?
Paul Fishman is the U.S. attorney who brought the case. His star witness who made the case on the stand, David Wildstein, said, during this shutdown, I talked to Chris Christie.
During the time?
During it. 9/11, 3 days in, 3 days to go. I talked to him. He understood.
Here's the key thing for Governor Christie. If he knew this thing was going to happen beforehand, and he damn well knew why it was going to happen, why didn't he blow the whistle and say, don't do it?
Well, here's the suspicion.
Why didn't he just do it?
The suspicion about Christie is this. I don't know if it was beforehand or if it was 2 days into it. He got it. He understood who David Wildstein was. He understood if there's suddenly a traffic jam, this Democratic mayor who hasn't endorsed him as he's trying to run up the score, he got it, and he thought, I'm not going to ever have any piece of paper that connects me to this. I'm not going to have any recording, and I can always deny it.
Okay, when he very sarcastically said to the reporters, yeah, I'm the guy that went out there and put the cones out on the highway, right?
Yeah.
He knew that he knew.
Well, that's some of the testimony that came out.
Yeah.
He had phone conversations.
So he knew at the time he was sarcastically answering those reporters, he knew he had something to do with putting those cones out
and
there.
if people had told him, hey, you know what, Bridget Kelly, David Wildstein, something was happening here, those conversations had been taking place.
Okay. You know what I think he was saying? I didn't do it, they did it.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah,
You always
they did it. I didn't do it, they did it. Anyway, thank you, Steve. Sure. It's one of the dangers, by the way, working for a politician. Get orders up front. Don't do something, wacky and across the line.
It's Bridget's email time for some traffic problems.
No, she's got the problems. Anyway, up next, the final push.
All right, so basically, Chris Christie, based on what Matthew just said, is basically going to get a walk. But you know something? I got a lot of faith in the New Jersey legislature, and I got a feeling they're not going to let this go. They're going to try to do something, and the corrupt Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney for the Department of Justice, who indicated that they weren't going to go after Christie. You're talking about the fix being in. That's obviously one of the places that the fix is in. They need to get rid of the entire U.S. Attorney's Office in New York, as well as the investigators for the FBI and any attorneys that they have. They need to completely replace the DOJ and FBI office personnel in New York with fresh people that are untarnished by their relationships with the powers that be in the New York, New Jersey region.